Most men think attraction is created by saying impressive things, the perfect line, the perfect joke, the perfect story. But according to female psychology, attraction usually begins somewhere much quieter than that. It begins the moment a woman feels emotionally different around you than she does around everyone else. Because here's the truth, most men never realize. Women talk to people all day. They get complimented, approached, messaged, noticed constantly, but very few people make them feel deeply understood. And that's why the right question can instantly change the emotional direction of a conversation, not because the question itself is magic, but because of what it allows her to feel. Today, we're breaking down 6 powerful questions that psychologically create emotional attraction fast, not through manipulation, but through emotional depth, curiosity, and genuine connection. And the strange part? Most men never ask questions like these because they're too busy trying to impress instead of trying to understand. But women remember understanding far longer than performance. And once you understand this shift, conversations stop feeling forced and start feeling magnetic, because attraction is rarely about talking more. It's about making someone feel more. Now, before we get into the first question, there's something important you need to understand about female psychology. Women are extremely emotionally responsive to presence, not just words. Presence, meaning the feeling a man creates emotionally while talking to her. Can she relax around him? Does the conversation feel alive? Does she feel judged or understood? Most conversations fail because they stay on the surface. What do you do? Where are you from? How was your day? Safe questions, predictable questions, forgettable questions, and predictable conversations create predictable emotions. Which means no emotional tension, no curiosity, no emotional pull. But the moment a question makes her pause and actually think, something changes psychologically. Because now she's emotionally participating instead of socially performing, and that's where attraction quietly begins. The first question is simple, but incredibly powerful. What's something you've changed your mind about in the last few years? Now notice why this works. Most people rarely get asked questions about their personal growth, so instantly her brain shifts into reflection mode instead of autopilot conversation mode. She starts thinking about experiences, lessons, relationships, life changes, and when someone reflects emotionally, they naturally become more open psychologically. That's important, because emotional openness creates emotional connection. But here's where most men ruin moments like this. They interrupt too quickly, or immediately bring the conversation back to themselves. Don't let her talk. Let silence exist for a second after she answers. Because silence, when used calmly, creates emotional weight. And emotionally intelligent women notice that immediately. Now the second question goes even deeper. When do you feel most like yourself? This question completely bypasses surface-level identity. It doesn't ask what she does for work. It asks where she feels emotionally free, and the answer usually reveals something deeply personal. Maybe she feels most like herself traveling, creating art, being around close friends, having deep conversations at night, being alone in nature. And as she talks about these moments, something subtle happens psychologically. She starts reconnecting emotionally with that feeling. And because you guided her there, her brain subconsciously begins associating your presence with emotional comfort and emotional depth. That's how attraction quietly builds, not through pressure, through emotional association. Now here's the important part. Don't rush to the next question. Stay inside the moment. Ask, what is it about that makes you feel so alive? Now the conversation becomes real, not performative, real, and that's rare enough to become memorable. The third question is where conversations often shift emotionally in a powerful way. If nothing held you back, no fear, no judgment, no pressure, what would you really want right now? This question is powerful because it temporarily removes limitations psychologically. Most people spend their entire lives filtering themselves, being realistic, hiding desires, suppressing dreams. But this question creates emotional freedom for a moment, and freedom is emotionally attractive. Because suddenly she's not answering socially anymore. She's answering honestly. She might reveal dreams she never talks about, a different life she secretly wants, a passion she abandoned years ago. And if you stay emotionally present while she talks about it, something important happens. She feels emotionally safe expressing parts of herself most people never ask about. And women remember that feeling deeply. Now here's where most men make a huge mistake. The moment a woman opens up emotionally, they panic and try to impress her even more. They start giving advice, trying to sound smart, trying to win the conversation, but emotional attraction usually grows strongest in moments where a woman feels heard, not managed. That's why the fourth question works so powerfully. What's something people misunderstand about you? This question immediately moves beneath surface identity, because almost everyone secretly feels unseen in some way. And when someone finally asks about that hidden part directly, emotional walls often lower without them even realizing it. She might say people think she's cold when she's actually just careful who she trusts. Or that people assume she's confident all the time when she actually overthinks everything internally. Or maybe she feels like she's always the one emotionally giving more in relationships. Now here's the important part. Don't rush to fix her emotions. Don't analyze her. Don't turn it into a speech about yourself. Just acknowledge it calmly. That actually makes a lot of sense. Simple, but emotionally powerful. Because validation creates emotional safety, and emotional safety creates attraction far more deeply than most men realize. Now the fifth question is where conversations often become unforgettable. What's something you wish more people understood about relationships? This question is incredibly revealing because people project their emotional experiences into their answers. Without realizing it, she'll often reveal asterisks what hurt her, asterisks what she values, asterisks what she fears, asterisks what she secretly wants emotionally. And suddenly, you're no longer having a shallow conversation. You're understanding how she emotionally experiences connection itself. That changes everything. Because attraction deepens when someone feels emotionally understood without needing to over-explain themselves. And here's something fascinating about female psychology. Women often become attracted to how emotionally safe and emotionally stimulating a conversation feels simultaneously. Too safe without curiosity becomes boring. Too intense without comfort becomes uncomfortable. But emotional depth mixed with calm presence, that creates emotional tension in the best possible way. Now, the sixth and most powerful question is this: what's a moment in your life that changed you forever? This question instantly shifts the conversation into emotional memory, and emotional memory is one of the strongest psychological triggers for connection, because now she's no longer giving casual information. She's sharing emotional meaning, a turning point, a painful lesson, a life-changing experience, a realization. And when someone trusts you enough to share emotionally meaningful memories, the brain naturally begins associating you with emotional intimacy. That's why deep conversations can sometimes create attraction surprisingly fast. Not because of manipulation, because vulnerability accelerates emotional connection. But listen carefully, these questions only work if your energy is genuine. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional intention. If it feels scripted, calculated, or manipulative, the emotional effect disappears immediately, because attraction is not just created by words, it's created by emotional congruence. Your tone, your patience, your eye contact, your ability to stay calm without trying too hard. That's what makes these conversations powerful. Not the question itself, the presence behind it. At the end of the day, this is what most men completely misunderstand about attraction. Women are not emotionally drawn to the man who talks the most. They're drawn to the man who makes them feel the most understood. Because real attraction is rarely built through performance. It's built through emotional experience, through the feeling someone leaves behind after the conversation ends. And that's why some men can say all the right things, yet still feel forgettable, while another man asks one meaningful question, listens deeply, and becomes impossible to stop thinking about. Because emotionally memorable conversations are rare. Most people are waiting for their turn to speak. Very few people know how to truly listen. And psychologically, feeling deeply heard creates emotional openness almost instantly. That's why women often remember conversations that made them feel emotionally safe, emotionally curious, and emotionally seen, even if nothing physical happened at all. Because the brain remembers feelings more than information. Think about that carefully. She may forget your exact words, but she will remember how she felt while talking to you. Whether she felt relaxed, whether she felt emotionally stimulated, whether the conversation felt alive instead of predictable. And this is where attraction quietly separates itself from ordinary interaction. Ordinary conversations exchange information. Powerful conversations exchange emotional energy. That's the difference. And ironically, the men who create the deepest attraction are usually not trying the hardest to impress. They're simply present enough to understand. That presence changes everything. Because once a woman feels emotionally comfortable opening up around you, curiosity naturally begins growing both ways. She starts wondering about you too. She starts emotionally investing in the interaction instead of just participating socially. And that's when attraction becomes real. Not forced, not performative. Real. Now here's something important. These questions are not meant to be used like an interview checklist. That would destroy the emotional flow immediately. Instead, think of them as emotional doorways. You open one, you step inside it together, and you stay there long enough for something genuine to happen. That's what creates depth. And depth is what most modern conversations are missing completely. Because in a world full of distractions, surface-level interactions, and people constantly trying to prove themselves, genuine curiosity has become rare enough to feel magnetic. So the next time you talk to a woman, stop worrying so much about saying something impressive. Instead, focus on making the conversation feel emotionally real. Ask better questions. Listen more deeply. Slow down. Allow silence sometimes. And most importantly, become interested instead of trying so hard to be interesting. Because when a woman feels truly understood in your presence, attraction often happens naturally without force. And that kind of attraction tends to last far longer than anything based only on appearance or charm alone. If you enjoyed this deep dive into female psychology and emotional attraction, subscribe for more insights into relationships, confidence, and human behavior. And comment the word depth below if you believe meaningful conversations are becoming rare in modern dating.